Good morning. Welcome to Sunday morning. Hello to the friends I can see on Zoom and the people I can't see on Facebook and YouTube. Pleasure to have you all here. Today, I'm going to take a stab at talking about emptiness. I was in Laura Cannon's Sangha last week, I think it was. Laura Cannon is a Dharma teacher in Bethesda, Maryland, who does a thing on Monday nights, and some of you have encountered her here. She's really good, and I enjoy her things, so I go most Mondays. And somebody asked a question about emptiness, and then sent over this really cool book of questions about emptiness. And I thought, well, I should take a stab at that. And one of the things that ensued during the course of that conversation with Laura is the importance of not veering off into Buddhist esoterica, which I can certainly do. But I don't think that's interesting to most people. So, and since all things are empty of inherent nature, if there's something about today's talk that bothers you, it's actually empty of inherent nature. It's about you, not me. So, it's one way to look at it. But before we go there, let's meditate. And while we're meditating, you're going to experience thoughts coming and going, because that's just the nature of it. And I'd like to suggest that none of what enters the thought stream has value in and of itself other than what we attach to it. It's just thoughts, images, memories, feelings. If you really pay attention to that, it changes the subject every couple of seconds. This morning it was playing a Steve Winwood song that I've been listening to. And then it was like the thing about this Dharma talk, and then it was remembering something, how that works. Each one of those little blips is in itself empty of any meaning other than what we ascribe to it. So I'm going to suggest that you kind of do what you can to look at it that way. And if that doesn't work for you, that's fine too. This is a gentleness practice. We can't do it right or wrong. Actually, we can't do it right. I mean, we cannot do it wrong. So the only other thing I want to mention is I will be here next week, and then the following week I will be on the road. Wendy Heckert, one of my favorite teachers, is going to be teaching. She's joining us today. Wave, Wendy. Having a little performance anxiety with having another teacher in the room. It's all good because that is also empty of inherent meaning. Okay. Let's just start with a slow, deep breath to get centered. And just come into your meditation posture. It's a posture where you can be relaxed and alert, letting go of whatever tension you're holding in your body to whatever degree you can. And let's start by noticing the touch points. The physical sensation of your legs or your feet resting on the floor. The physical sensation of your bottom on the cushion or the chair. noticing the physical sensations of your hands resting in your lap. Let's take a couple of slow, deep breaths just to connect to breathing in the body. Long, slow exhale. And as you breathe out, just let the body relax and soften. And letting our breathing return to normal. And receiving the in-breath. And noticing the sensations as your body transitions from an in-breath to an out-breath. And ride the sensations all the way to the bottom of the out-breath. Maybe pause for just a split second. And notice the body transitioning to and the pull of the in-breath. And as you continue to relax and soften your face and your shoulders and your belly, to whatever degree you can, to also relax and soften the thinking mind. Just let it come to rest to the degree that it can come to rest. And let your attention come to your breathing. And rest your awareness and your focus on the sensations of the body breathing. Just relaxing into the rhythm of the body breathing in and out. And that may change. There may be longer breaths and shorter breaths. That's okay. We're not trying to do anything. Just resting our focus and awareness on the breath as best you can, any way that works for you. Thoughts may come and go. You notice that you've wandered off into thinking. That's okay, the mind does that. Without getting wrapped up into the content, just notice and come back to your breathing. If it works for you to notice the internal state of your mind, the weather of your internal state. Not to try to do anything with it, just to notice. If you notice that you're thinking, that's okay. It's an opportunity to be gentle. And maybe, consider that there's nothing in those thoughts that needs anything at all. Doesn't need action, doesn't need resolution, doesn't need attention. It's empty of whatever meaning we ascribe to it. It's just a phenomenon that rises from the mind, then passes, like all things. as we come towards the end of this sitting, just noticing how you are in your mind and in your body in the present moment, in the simplicity of this moment. And may it be that whatever centering or benefit of any kind that we have received from this practice today enables us to look out upon the world with kind eyes and to meet whoever and whatever comes to us with kindness and compassion. And may it be that the benefits of this practice radiate from you into your interactions with the people you encounter in your household and on your street, in your town, as you move through the world to all beings everywhere. May the benefits of this practice be of benefit to all beings everywhere. May all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be safe. May all beings be at ease and at peace. Thank you for your practice. As usual, I've put the usual information in the chat on Zoom, information on how to find these sessions on Zoom and on Facebook and on YouTube. They're archived on YouTube, they're not live. My website, how to get in touch with me, and these sessions are freely given. There's a link for donations. You are under no obligation to even consider it. So, emptiness. And, turning that over in my mind, how do I address this question? And I found myself thinking about Rainer Maria Rilke, who's one of my favorite writers. I consider him a spiritual guide. He was a writer, poet, and spiritualist who lived between 1875 and 1925. And he wrote, "Be patient towards all that is unresolved in your heart and try to love the questions themselves, like locked rooms and like books that are now written in a very foreign tongue. Do not now try to seek answers which cannot be given you, because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything, live the questions now. Perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answer." And I think emptiness sort of calls to that. The more I contemplate whatever that is, the more that sort of opens me up. And emptiness is being able to look at something and not attaching a preconceived idea to it. Unfiltered. For example, some people have seen me do this exercise before. What am I doing? Okay, now what am I doing? How many of you think I'm flipping you off? How many of you think I am demonstrating a gesture that would be inappropriate at any other time? Okay, what I'm actually demonstrating, um, when I worked at the newspaper, I didn't take ergonomics seriously until I got injured. And I have a tendon injury right here. And there's a little tunnel right here in the knuckle, kind of like the carpal tunnel, but smaller. And the tendon is a little swollen and it catches right there. So when I go like this gets stuck sometimes, right? So I have to do that. This is actually empty of whatever meaning other than what you ascribe to it. If I say, fuck you and the horse you rode in on, that's pretty offensive. But what if you don't speak English? And what if you never heard that word before? And you don't know what it means? Then it's empty. It has only whatever meaning you ascribe to it. And I think this is true of most things. Because as I've talked about before, our experience is always in two parts. Here's what happens. Here's what we tell ourselves about what happens. This just sort of occurs. There's nothing we can do about it most of the time. This is how we describe it and explain it in whatever stories we wrap around it. This is optional. Most people don't know that. And this is in our control. Most people don't know that either. And as I keep mentioning, the Hopi Indians believe in every situation there are 88 possibilities. I don't know how they came up with that. I don't care. I just like it. What I have decided about that, I have removed the emptiness and imposed this idea that if you lay an 8 on its side, it's a symbol for infinity. So maybe that's infinite possibilities. There are 88 ways I can describe this. One of which is an old tendonitis injury. One of which is I'm telling you that I don't want to talk to you anymore. There are 86 others. One of which is I'm using this to explain something in a Dharma talk. One of which is, wow, it's really sore. It's not so sore anymore, but you want to go like this, I can still feel like a catch right there. So our experience is in two parts. Here's what happens. Here's what we tell ourselves about what happens. And in this part over here, we add assumptions and filters from past experiences and stories that relate to what we think is going on, views of the world. It's like the mind is a giant file drawer, right? Miles long. Something happens in front of us. We reach back into the file, we put that in front of us, and that's the filter through which we view what's going on. We tend to believe that what we're viewing, that the filter is what's actually happening, and we lose sight of what's happening behind it. But what's happening behind it is actually empty of any inherent nature. I was standing in a grocery store line some years ago in Sacramento. And I had a grocery bag, a reusable grocery bag from Whole Foods, which had just been acquired by Amazon. And Amazon is an evil empire, blah, blah, blah. And the guy standing behind me starts lecturing me about my grocery bag, right? I'm a woke person, but there's a certain class of woke people that feel like they need to spontaneously spread it around. And I looked at him, I said, it's just a grocery bag. But it had all this other stuff that he attached to it, so to him it wasn't empty. To me, it's just the thing, it was literally empty, waiting for my groceries. And the truth is, Anais Nin, early 20th century essayist, wrote, "We don't see things as they are, we see things as we are." Someone says something relatively innocuous, we take offense because that's what we brought to the table. Because it's also true that if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. Which brings us to the lizard brain. That was a non sequitur, isn't it? I've said for weeks now that I was going to take the time to explain that whole evolutionary biology process of the negative bias of the mind, and I think now would be a good time to do that because it relates to this. Way back at the dawn of time, the literal dawn of time, when we were crawling out of the primordial ooze, closer to something like a small tadpole than anything else. We were a little bag of skin about this long with just enough legs to crawl out of the muck, and a nervous system without any of this complex stuff going on here. We did not have a cognitive anything going on. Mostly we were looking for food, which is why we crawled out of the muck. And we were at the bottom of the food chain. And although we did not consciously know that, instinctively we knew that. I don't know if you've ever seen the footage of the turtles hatching on the beach and the seagulls are coming down and the turtles are dinner. We were the turtles. So at the very earliest stage of our evolutionary process, our entire nervous system was wired, our nervous system being this big, was wired to know that we were not safe. That part of you is still here. It's right at the back of the brainstem. And it exerts influence. If you could imagine, it's not set up this way, but if you can imagine there was a button that connected your spinal cord to your brain, it would be right there. As a result, the mind tends to lean into negativity and sensing danger. We've been doing it for 1 million years. And that sense is empty of any meaning in and of its own. It's why we have a natural tendency to look at an object and not feel okay. The object is just the object. Me going like this is just my hand. If you'd never seen this gesture before, you wouldn't know what it was. You'd think it was a game and waiting for you to toss the ring across the room and land it here. Could be that too. So, example. I'm meditating. I feel anger. Anger at my mother. Say, for example, just to pull that out of the air. I'm angry at something she did. I'm angry at something she said. I'm telling myself a story about that based on a lifetime of other things that had happened, and hearing in my head the things that I should have said and wish I'd said, or maybe I regret. And I'm getting all caught up and I'm attaching all this stuff to it. But what it really is, it's just energy arising in my body, and it's really empty of inherent nature in and of its own. I tend to make that my anger about my mother, but it's just energy arising in my body. And later on, I might feel angry, or you might feel angry, but the anger, that energy will point me at something else, and then the lizard brain will kick in, and there we go. Right? But it's just energy. And emptiness suggests that we look at anger, or whatever else is coming up, as just a phenomenon of energy, and observe it. How does that feel in my body? When I feel angry, I feel like my shoulders are being pulled apart and pushed together, like I'm trying to fold my body in half, like to defend myself. I get really tight right here in my solar plexus. What does it feel like physically? I feel sad. It's usually like right around here. Impatience, I can really identify that one because it feels like there's like a little like hook right here, and it's like it's like pulling me forward. And these are things or practices, okay? And the reason why I keep saying practice is a practice is something you have to do over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. And I keep coming back to that great quote by Pablo Casals, who was asked why he practiced 8 hours every day. I mean, he's the master, right? He said, well, I might be learning it. I buy his records, I mean, remember records? Anybody remember records? Dating myself and you. I'm angry. I'm having this thing in my chest and my shoulders. And what if I, because of my mindfulness practice, mindfully look at the narrative I have attached to that? And I choose anger because it's got so much baggage, because we usually attach some piece of I'm not okay to it, because anger is a taboo. And most taboos are real things that we're actually drawn to. So I'm going to dismiss the I'm not okay. I'm going to dismiss the this is something to do with my mother. I'm going to dismiss it. This has something to do with me. And what I'm left with is this feeling in my body that will pass if I let it. It's just energy. And emptiness is recognizing that whatever I bring is something I bring, and it's just energy. And we can take it a step further. What am I telling myself about that feeling? Am I telling myself I'm not okay? I am okay, and I need this to protect myself, because I've worked with a lot of trauma and abuse survivors who really do need their anger to feel safe, and I'm good with that, because I was one of those. I've been that. What are the stories? What are the assumptions? And if I start looking at that, one of the things I noticed fairly early on is the stories and the assumptions are kind of malleable. I can change it into anything I want. I can change it into, oh, I'm having this energetic experience, I'm okay. I can change it into, oh, I need this energy to go out and address that. I can change it into, maybe I just need to take a shower. I lived in Binghamton, New York. It's 95 degrees and 95% 4 showers a day. Someone else here is from New York and knows what I'm talking about. So, as I said, I chose anger to talk about because there's so much baggage attached to it, but it really is empty of inherent nature. And the narrative is just a narrative. And I can decide at any point that I am okay with this. Or not. I'm not okay with the war in Ukraine. That's okay. I'm not okay with the fact that, I did a little research on this. There's actually, there's gradings of war. Can you believe it? Major wars, minor wars, and it's based on the number of people who've died. Ukraine is actually a minor conflict by that grading system, but there are 5 major wars going on. That's not okay with me. Now, I can create a narrative that says, you're not okay with me because you're not paying attention to all that, but that's, empty of inherent nature, right? And this also points to, last week I was talking about impermanence. Whatever inherent nature I project onto this thing may be different the next time it arises. I feel angry and I might project, oh, I don't want this. Or I might project, I'm glad I'm still aware of this stuff. It's impermanent. It shifts all the time. And the problem here is we cling to these things and to the stories that we've wrapped around them, and that is the root of suffering. The root of suffering is not what happened in front of me. The root of suffering, I mean, that is, there is pain in that. There is grief in that. The next layer of suffering, the second arrow, is what I tell myself about that. Which as often as not in this society tends to be some version of I'm not okay. But what if you are okay? You're just awake, and this is what that looks like. And the second arrow, the first arrow is what happens. The second arrow is, is the optional wound of us telling ourselves that we're not okay because of the way I'm receiving that. The second arrow, too, is also empty of inherent nature. It's just something we do. It's not something we are. And the thing about contemplating emptiness is we start to realize that these are not things that we are, they are things that we do. And therefore we have choices. I don't have to beat myself up for being angry. I don't have to beat you up because I'm mad at you. I'm just mad, I'm just angry, and I'm hurling it at you, but I don't have to do that. It's like in the early days of my recovery, I was like this angry duck walking around, right? And I had a little road rage thing going on. I didn't roll down the window and scream at people, but somebody would cut me off in traffic, and I went, yeah. In the meantime, that person is hasn't even noticed me, is driving on with their lives. Right? It's completely a piece of energy that arose in my body, and I attached all this stuff to that other person about it. It also speaks to self and identity. I identify myself as someone who's not okay. Well, that is actually empty of inherent nature. That's just an assumption that I can learn to toss. And these are natural states, and because of the lizard mind, we tend to add another layer of anxiety. So, what if the next time you're upset, you step back and say, this is just an energetic thing that's happening. The guy bitching at me about my grocery bag, he's having a rough day today. It has nothing to do with me. I'm mad at my mother for something that she's been dead since 2009. If you're an Al-Anon, the best object lesson is to be angry at a dead person, because now it really is all about me. Right? And I have to come to a center with it. It's a great Dharma lesson to be mad at a dead person, because dead is over the Greek. Dead is dead. So that is empty of inherent nature, because there's no object out there to attach it to. So we come to this through gentle but persistent inquiry. What meaning am I attaching to this? And what if I don't do that? What if I attach something else to it? What if you see this and you say, Ken's an idiot, and I'm not? That's fine. On some days I actually am. It's hard being an idiot. What if all of this is a call to self-compassion? I'm feeling an uncomfortable energy in my body, and I notice that I'm projecting all of this stuff onto it. And now I can go to some version of, oh, I'm doing it wrong. I haven't learned anything in all these years of Dharma practice, and now I'm a bad Buddhist. Right? And I've been there and done that. But what if I go to doing the best I can, good enough? That's the true nature. We're doing the best we can is good enough. So, I would like to suggest that you notice when you are ascribing things to situations that are your story, your past, your assumption, your view of the world, but is separate. It's not the actual thing going on. It's a challenging thing to do. If you bring it into your consciousness as an intention, you'll get moments of it here and there. So, I hope I addressed the question. Because if I didn't, that was a lot of verbiage, which is also empty of inherent nature. And thank you all for your kind attention. Anybody have any comments or questions?
Thanks, Ken. I appreciate that talk. Thank you.
Thank you. I will see you guys next week. And the week after that, you'll see Wendy. She's extremely cool. Be nice to her. Thank you all.